Welcome back. So, Mr. Nzako, before we went on that break, I was reading out some of the highlights of what the president is seeking. But let's look at some of the highlights from the 1982 Act, passed by, signed by President Shagari. Foreign exchange control, which reduced basic travel allowance from 800 to 500 per person of the age 16 and above. Hajj Forex subsidy pegs the number of pilgrims permitted to leave the Hajj, to perform the Hajj in 82 to maximum 50,000. Reduction of business travel allowance from 3,000 to 2,005. Reduction from M lifespan to 6 months. Reintroduction of pre-shipment inspection for spare parts. And on. Do you see any similarity between what is now, what the president is seeking, what the former president in 1982 sought and signed, and what the president, the current president as head of state, did in 1984?
Are we moving forward or are we going backwards? A policy that was used in 34 years ago, 1982, can that be reenacted in 2016? Are we moving forward?
Are there similarities?
Yes, we don't even need to compare both because it's just like comparing apples and oranges. They are completely different. The dynamics of national development has gone beyond that. The population has changed. The world system has changed. Everything has changed. So we cannot be going back to 1982. If that is the foundation upon which the government seeks to ask for this power, okay, it was applied in 1982, I tell you it's a very faulty foundation. Moving forward, what has the government done? What economic blueprint is on the table?
But
what is government doing
as an economist,
yes.
Do you think this powers that the president is seeking will help to stimulate the economy? Because that's what he's seeking them for.
Let's take UBEC program, for instance. What section 11 of that program? Don't forget that UBEC law was enacted just in 2004.
Yeah.
Section 11 of that law requires that state government must have their counterpart funding. If the World Bank or United Nations want to give you any project fund, you bring your own counterpart funding. Even when you are going for anything, you want to take loan from the bank, for instance, you bring your own funding. It's a sign of seriousness that you intend to use this money judiciously. Yes. But what is happening? I'm coming. What is happening to the ecological fund? Most of the governors have messed up the funds in the ecological, almost all in the ecological fund. So much wastage that must be curtailed. This is where government should be looking at. You beg for instance, yes, release funds to the states, about over 58 or 16 billion is locked up in there. We have no problem with that. Send it to National Assembly. There will be an amendment. And then also put a check that will not allow the governors to mess up this money. They will also mess up.
But that's what he's looking at, timing. Because the process of going to the National Assembly, will use 1 week.
Let government, the problem, with due apologies, many government officials are not ready to work. This is an executive bill. Draw up the bill. Make it foolproof. Make it good. Say to the National Assembly. National Assembly will look at it. 2, 3, 4, 5 days, 1 week, it is passed. So, what is the emergency about it?
You're not sure about that, are you?
I am sure it can be passed, except if National Assembly does not want to help Nigeria. One, the government has said that will be done. Procurement process, fine. You say you want to replace foreign contractors, local contractors. Is there any law in Nigeria that says only foreign contractors will begin contract? There's no such law. So why are you bringing it now? The other one, you said you are using the visa restrictions. I'm even surprised to hear that Nigeria will be restricting investors with visa. Nigeria should be free. Once they confirm that you are a foreign investor, they should make it easy for you. Go to Dubai, you land today, even at the airport, they issue you a visa.
Mr.
And that's where the country is moving.
I don't think you understand just how difficult it is to get a visa into Nigeria.
Because I'm a Nigerian, I never applied.
Okay.
But I never find it. That's why I say I am surprised and shocked that getting visa to come to Nigeria is that difficult.
It is difficult.
I am shocked to know that.
But then again, I think these are some of the things or the ills this stimulus budget or stimulus law is trying to bring in. We're trying to draw a comparison with the 1982 law. As a matter of fact, the wordings are almost the same. That's in terms of the title of the laws. They're almost the same. But the key ingredients of both are very, very dissimilar. In 1982, what we had was an austerity package. As a matter of fact, they increased interest rates in that 1982. They were doing forex rationing. They reduced the amount of money they were giving for PTA and BTA from 500 naira for BTA and then 2,500 naira for PTA. They reduced so much. They banned items, just like we're even trying to do in Nigeria today. They banned items. They increased duties on certain goods. They said, look, we don't need this. And that's exactly what's happening in Venezuela today. If you go to Venezuela, the shelves are empty. And I mean really empty. You go to shops and you see empty shelves. They ration toothpaste and tissue paper in Venezuela. They ration it. I mean, you come, they tell you you bought tissue paper last week, you can't buy it today in Venezuela. And that's happening because Venezuela also tried to use an austerity measure. What we're doing with this, we're trying to bring a stimulus package to the economy. We are going through a recession. You go through a recession when you have 2 consecutive quarters of a negative growth, negative GDP growth.
But Kema,
Nigeria's GDP is about 0.8% now.
How would this work? Would this bring the stimulus?
I think it would.
Do we need the president's powers to stimulate the economy?
No.
Tony, I'm coming.
The funny thing now is this. I'm not actually in support of the first item that gives the president powers to approve environments from one. I mean, the CBN is already empowered to have intervention funds, which is exactly where the Dasiki Gate scandal came from. Where you see there's a crisis in the sector of the economy, you pump in funds to that sector. The CBN already is empowered to do that. So when there's an emergency, the CBN can bring an intervention fund for that purpose. So I'm not in support of that. However, other areas, they want to bring in things like the CAC. If you want to do business in Nigeria, within 3 days, max, your company is incorporated. That's one of the recommendations. That's why I don't want us to throw away the baby with the bathwater and say the president wants excessive powers, let's throw it away. No, let's listen to the ingredients of this bill. We want visa on, just like he was saying, visa upon entry. You want to do business in Nigeria, come. At the borders, we stamp your visa, go into Nigeria and do business. Let things be a little bit easier in Nigeria. Instead of all these government assets, it takes about 6 weeks with the Procurement Act, about 6 weeks to advertise, just to advertise. You advertise for 6 weeks, then they'll constitute a panel for maybe 2 weeks, after which assent goes to the... So much bureaucracies. When your country is in dire straits, you are in a deeper... I mean, we need to...
We are in trouble.
We're in trouble. These are trouble times.
Tony, what?
Well, Nelson, to my mind, there is no power the president is asking for that he doesn't already have. And if you look at Section 5 of the Constitution that confers powers on our president, he is the one who already has all, except the power to take funds from one point and do something else. And even that power, they've abused it over the years. So they've always had it against our will. But looking at the specifics of what the president is asking for now, even though they're in denial, you want to ask yourself, is there anything that the president cannot do with the powers conferred on him by Section 130 of the Constitution already? That section defines the president as the head of state, the chief executive, and the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. Now, as chief executive, if you need to mobilize funds to do something in a particular sector, you have all of the hands that you need to do that, and to get it to the National Assembly to have this, to get these things done.
But Tony, don't you think that this particular president has to be extra circumspect? Because already the picture people have about him is that he's a dictator.
And that's exactly where I'm going. Beyond even being a dictator, you want to find out. Let's take the counterpart funding, for instance. I have taken the view elsewhere already that there are complaints everywhere that the president, in his, according to them, so-called fight against corruption, is sectional, is selective. But I have taken a close look at this, and I've seen that he's dealing with issues at the federal level, which the Constitution permits him to do. He cannot go to the states to do the same thing because of our federalism. Now, he lost an opportunity to do that in the states when the state governors came to him cap in hand asking for funds to go and pay salaries. And the governors who misappropriated and stole all these funds are working free. They're in the Senate. Some of them are ministers and so on and so forth. If the president had said, go back home, call them to duty, bring them to justice, you recover what you can, and I give you the balance. That would have been an opportunity to go to the states. Now, we are talking about, okay, everything at the federal level, and you want to take funds meant for A to do B, and you want us to legalize that. Are we going to repeal the act that says you can't do that? And if we repeal that act, are we not opening a floodgate